he says later, and I'll show it to you. Is it secondary causes or is it direct creation by God? And there are these two possibilities. And I think he was well aware that there were these two possibilities when he left, but he was a creationist, undoubtedly, when he left. So as I say that, I kind of think of this as he's got two decks of cards. And one of them he's taught to basically deal out all the time. It's a creationist deck. And the other deck, though, is this transmutationist deck, which he's got in his back pocket. And the question is, when does he take it out and start fiddling with that deck of cards? And that's, I guess, really what I'm on about here. Next slide. The Beagle was supposed to go for 3 years. It was the purpose of it was funded by the Admiralty. Darwin went as the captain's companion and as the ship's naturalist, but he was unpaid, so his father had to pay for it. His father was violently against him going, and he said, you know, they've picked the bottom of the barrel, it's going to be dangerous, you're going to spend too much money on all this stuff. And finally, his uncle, Josiah Wedgwood, interceded and got him to go. So Fitzroy said, fine, your job will be not only my companion, but I want you to be on shore a lot, which was good because Darwin was seasick a lot of the time. And there was a hope that he would find economically valuable mineral deposits. It's about the one thing that Darwin failed to do on this trip. He did almost everything else. In fact, he was amazing. That's a point I was going to mention later, but I'll mention it now, where he was able to look at whatever presented itself. He got to a place, Maldonado in Uruguay, a couple of years into the trip, and the geology was terrible and it was raining all the time. So he sent his team out to shoot birds. And that became the basis of a lot of his comparative work with bird variation down the length of the southern half of South America, because he never wasted his time. He was sick sometimes, but he never deliberately, he always looked for something to do. If the geology was poor or was all crystalline rocks around Rio, which he felt had already been adequately studied, then he looked at other things. There was always something for him to do there. The purpose of the journey was to make detailed navigational maps of the southern half of South America on both coasts, because England had, let me see, they had taken what they renamed the Malvinas, they renamed them the Falkland Islands in 1828. They were already in Australia, already in South Africa. So they were looking for sort of control, economic and military control of the South Seas. And this was an information gathering voyage, but it had these economic and military implications to it. And it was supposed to go around the world, but it was supposed to take only 3 years, and it ended up taking 5 years. I know that's kind of an obscure map, but anyway, that's most of the time was spent, I won't even bother walking over there, down off the coast of Patagonia, and down, they went to Tierra del Fuego several times, they went to the Falkland Islands a couple of times, and then they finally, in late 1834,